Dear friends, it is I, Yeshua. I come to you today to talk about your own voice, your own home, your own space within you. For you and I, each one of you that is listening to this, we have known each other for a very, very long time. And I would like to take you on a journey, if you will. Remember the times we had together. Remember the scent of the desert winds that would blow and bring its own memories from the forests far away, from the mountains, from the seas, of the times that we dreamed about in those times, from the times that we wished, that we hoped for. The wind would carry those dreams and it would remind us of what we at that time worked for. Remember, as you're walking down the streets in those times, remember that lifetime of yours, of your soul self. Remember the scents of the herbs, the smells of cooking, the chatter of people in those times, the busyness that was going on all around. And then when we retreated into our own safety spaces, into our own safe zones, up in the mountains where it was quiet, where even the air that we breathe up in the mountains, it was thinner, it was clearer. It was much easier to think, to feel. It was much easier to feel yourself. And then remember all of those lifetimes that you chose to be, to live away from the hum of society, so that you would be able to connect, to reconnect with your own self. And allow your soul self to flow all these different lifetimes through you as I speak. For you will then recognize the scent, the different scent that each of those lifetimes has. The different flavor, the different feel to it, and yet underneath it all, now feel the same signature, the same knowingness of you. Even though these lifetimes of your soul self are so different in location, in where they were, in the century, in the gender that you were, feel that same signature of you, of who you are, that underlies everything that you do, that underlies everything that you experience. Underneath it all, it matters not how full on, how intense the experience is. For you had very, very intense lifetimes too. Not all of them were in caves, some were in huge battlefields, with noise of the cannons, with the intensity of the friendships, the camaraderie that only the battle can invoke in each person, in each being. And feel those feelings of being right, of wanting to battle for what you believed in, the intensity of those feelings that sometimes overwhelmed you, that created these friendships with those that were sharing your belief. And now we move on to those other lifetimes, perhaps somewhere in the countryside. And remember on the times when there were no machines, no noise of the machines, there were animals, farm animals, and the love stories within those times, the children playing, the love that you felt for your spouse, the voices of children playing Well, first being born, then playing, then growing up, then going out into the world, into living their own lives. And the sensuality and the experiences of those kinds of lifetimes, where you are exploring the peace of a countryside, where you are exploring the sharing with your close one, with your partner, with your spouse, and all of the love stories, well, and also all of the difficulties within the relationships that you've experienced. And now we move, as you perhaps had lifetimes in the city. You moved into the city. You've experienced the industrial age, the excitement of new discoveries, of new buildings, of these things called machines, of the difficulties perhaps in those lifetimes when you were a worker, a poor one, having to work for 15 hours a day in a factory in the dirt, coming home and you feel that tiredness of your body. You feel all of the different experiences, feelings and emotions that those kind of lifetimes brought to you. And amidst all of that, there still were experiences of relationships, of deep loves, of attachments, of people leaving, of people dying, of disasters, of all sorts of things that you've experienced. And now move on to perhaps your more artistic lifetimes, when you were a painter, when you were a musician, when you were immersing yourself into your own creativity and exploring that. But those lifetimes, so full of sensuality, so full of just raw experience of joy that you can experience with creativity. And so now we move on to these lifetimes that you have now in this era. In this era with so many choices, where within one lifetime, your lifetime, you can experience, and you have experienced so many things that your other lifetimes would only but dream about. You can experience travel, you can experience art, you can experience countrysides and cities. You experience disasters and calamities that are upon the humanity at this time. And you experience those private, intimate moments with yourself. And even though the lifetimes belong to your soul self, to this grand being that you are, you as a human, you don't have to worry about those other lifetimes. You only concern yourself with this present one that you have. And yet all of those other lifetimes are available to you. They're available to you to fill you with their wisdom, with their experiences. But most of all of them recognize the signature of their own soul self. All of them recognize, some more consciously than others, but all of them recognize that quiet voice within them. That quiet voice that in this lifetime of yours has not been so quiet, has it? For you feel that you've been tossed and turned this way and that way at times on the waves of life that you haven't chosen, is what you feel at times. But know that in this most monumental of lifetimes that you are living now, that your soul is living and experiencing through you, that you have available all the wisdom of the ages that your soul has lived through and is living through. For those lifetimes, including the one where you and I walked the earth together in all sorts of different relationships that I had with you. Some were friends, some acquaintances, some were lovers, some were parents, some were relatives. All I've experienced just like you. And yes, in this lifetime, all of this is available to you. Allow it to touch you all these many lifetimes, for you don't have anything to fear anymore, even from those most intense lifetimes that have experienced most intense, even brutal things. For now there's a wisdom. Now there's a wisdom available to you. And they are here right with you to gift you with that wisdom that you can utilize in this lifetime. For your soul self is always ready, is always available to you, always ready, perhaps in the background, perhaps in the busyness of your life, everyday life, you don't notice it, and yet when you expand into that awareness, and when I say expand, I don't mean at this moment expand into the physical reality, but expand inside of yourself, in your inner world, and there it is, your soul self. That presence. When you become consciously aware of that presence, you wonder then, how come that you were able to shut it out before, that you were able to live as if it doesn't exist, that you were able to live in a world that was disconnected, when now that you notice it, now that when you hear it, when you feel it, when you touch it, you can never again forget what that is like. You can never again really pretend that it doesn't exist. And it does. You feel that home. You feel that signature of you. You feel that familiarity. That is you. And you feel that relief when you fall into yourself. And for some of you, initially, that falling may not be easy because you don't trust. And yet when you allow yourself just to fall and fall and fall inside of you, inside yourself, inside your soul, home, there is nothing quite like it. Is it, dear friends? There is nothing quite like feeling at home. And this feeling at home is more important now than ever. For you are learning to allow that radiance of yourself, that signature of yourself, to radiate through you, through this lifetime of yours that you have now, and to all the other lifetimes of your soul. For you know that the other lifetimes, they are not your responsibility, and yet they are all available to you. You can download, so to speak, you can download all the benefits, you can download the talents, you can download the learning, the wisdom, the knowingness. You can transport yourself into another lifetime for an experience, if you want to. For an experience of sensuality, for all of this, dear friends, is available to you now. For you are in this space, you are mature enough that you can deal with the many of the one that you are. And I invite you to explore that, how the many can be the one, for those that haven't yet experienced that. For that is delicious. It is delicious to always be falling into yourself, into home, into you. And this you will notice as you spend more and more time in this space of your home. You will not be able to help yourself but notice how other people that are still caught within that matrix, this is the biggest thing, the biggest barrier is between them and themselves. Even to the mind, to someone who only knows the mind, that makes no sense. How can there be that barrier between me and me? But yes, there is the biggest barrier. And you know that whenever you touch or you allow that mass consciousness to flow through you, you notice that the first thing it tries to do, it tries to accomplish, is to put that barrier between you and you back in place. And when you venture out, you forget about yourself again, don't you? And it is not that pleasant forgetfulness about yourself which can happen when you are connected and you go on the journeys, on all these different journeys that you've chosen. When you always know, when you always have that glow inside of you, glowing outwards. It's not that kind of forgetfulness. Mass consciousness wants to forget, wants you to forget you with you in the most painful of ways. And you say no to that. You know how to say no to that. You know how to come back to yourself, how to come back to your home. You will never, never leave it once you realize that it is there. Once you have the satisfaction of being home, you with you. Until next time.